In today's video, I will show you how to knit this cable, eyelets and ladder stitch while demonstrating how to read the chart for it. If you would like to download a chart for this stitch, you can do that for free in my latest post on Patreon. Make sure to check attachments below the post. You will find a link for my Patreon in the description down below. I've always shared how important being able to chart and read charts as a knitter is, so if you'd like to build your confidence in this skill, this video is definitely for you. This is the chart for the sample, and you can see here at the top of the page, we have an explanation for every single symbol used on the page. It is easy to read the chart, and I'm going to demonstrate how to do that. I believe that being able to chart and to read a chart is a very important skill for every knitter. I strongly believe that it will help you in your design process. We can see here that we need to cast on 54 stitches in order to knit this sample. We can see here at the top of the page as well that every single square that is in white is a knit stitch, so that will mean that our needles in action on main bed, and the green squares are a ladder, which means that the needles are out of action. So I'm going to cast on 54 stitches. I'm going to do a quick E-wrap cast on. We'll be placing my comb and a couple of claw weights. Before I start the cable design, I'm just going to form the ladders. I'm going to transfer 2 stitches each side. I'm going to begin with the very middle where I have 6 stitches in action. So if we want to see that, we can just count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 with 2 out of action. So I'm just going to prepare that before I start the cables. Okay, so just looking at the center, I've got my 6 stitches. And in order to form the ladder, I'm just going to transfer. So I'm picking up the stitch and I'm transferring one to the left and one to the right. So we've got 2 needles out of action. I'm just going to pull them all the way to the back. And I'm going to do the same on the other side. So looking at the chart, we can see here that we have that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 times. So I'm just going to do that. And I can just count 2, 4, 6. Two, 4, 6. 2, 4, 6. And I'm going to knit a couple of rows. So now we are ready to start the actual design. I only marked on the chart where the cables begin, but the ladders you can start them anytime you want and plan the sample however you prefer. And now all I have to do is to set my row counter to 0. And then I'm going to begin my cables and my pointail. Alright, so row counter is at 0. So looking at my chart, I have to begin with 3 left cross cable, and these are 3x3 cables, as we can see here on our chart. I'm going to use 2 3-pronged tools to create a 3x3 cable, and I have to create 3 cables, one here, and one here. So in order to create the cable, I have to pick up the 6 stitches that will form the cable. Because it's a left cross cable, that means that I have to cross the stitches to the left first. Like so. And then the remaining 3 stitches. So this is how we create a left cross cable. I'm going to repeat that 2 more times. The last thing to do on this row is to create the eyelets, and I'm going to use a 1-prong tool to create these eyelets. These are the 6 stitches where the eyelets will be formed, and I'm going to skip the first stitch and I'm going to transfer the second. So in order to understand what's happening on the chart, basically this little circle shows us where the eyelet will be formed. This stitch will be left empty so we can form an eyelet. This symbol here means that we have 2 stitches onto 1 needle. It means that we are transferring to the left, and now when we are transferring this stitch here, we have 2 stitches onto this 1 needle, and then we have here where the eyelet will be formed. To repeat the same on the other side, we skip the 1, 2, 1, 2, and we transfer again, but this time we are transferring to the right. As we can see here on the chart, the needle that has 2 stitches onto is on the right side. Just like so. In order to form an eyelet, not like with the others, we left the needles out of action. We will have to make sure to put these needles back in action, just like so. I'm going to repeat that on the remaining stitches. Before knitting rows, when we create a 6x6 cable or even a 2x2 cable, a good idea is to place the needles all the way out before knitting rows. This will make knitting a bit easier. And now, just taking another look at the chart, we can see that nothing is going to happen in the next 5 rows, only on the 6th row. So I'm just going to knit 6 rows plain. I'm making sure that I'm putting the needles where I have eyelets back in action, and I'm going to knit 6 rows. And we can see where we transferred, the stitches are cast on again, and we've got the 2 little eyelets. Looking at the chart on row 6, we have to create a 2x2 cable, and this time is a right cross cable. We can tell that from the little arrows that I put, but also if we're not sure, we have the instructions here as well. This time is just the opposite of what we've done before. The stitches that go to the front are transferred to the right. We're going to form the 2x2 cables on the same 6 stitches, but we're going to use only the first 4. And I'm going to do the same. I'm going to grab the stitches and I'm going to transfer to the right first, and then to the left, like so. I'm going to repeat that 2 more times. Just like we did before, we have to transfer to form eyelets again. You can of course choose to do a different design on these stitches here. I wouldn't do another cable because things will get really tight, but this is just an opportunity for us to learn how to do an eyelet and how to chart that. Again, I'm going to make sure to put the needles back in action. And I'm going to pull the needles where I have the cables all the way out. And looking at the chart again, we know that we have to knit another 6 rows because the next cable will be on row 12. Looking at the chart, on row 12 we have to create again a 3x3 cable, but this time the twist is on the opposite direction. So before we twisted to the left and now we're twisting to the right. We could of course look at the instructions and we can see that we have a 3x3 right cross cable, so the opposite of the first one. Same 6 stitches. And now the stitches will cross to the right first. Just like before, the eyelets. Pull the needles all the way out and make sure to put the needles back in action. And knit 6 more rows. Looking at the chart, on row 18 we have to do again a 2x2 cable, but this time is a left cross cable, as we can see here on our instructions, which will be the opposite of what we've done before, and also not on the same stitches, but we're moving 2 stitches to the right this time. So I'm going to pick the 4 stitches like so. We'll cross them to the left first and then to the right. And again, just like before, the eyelet. Pull the needles all the way out and make sure to put the needles back in action where we have the eyelets. And knit 6 more rows. We are on row 24 and we actually completed 1 repeat of the pattern. In order to start a new repeat, we can either just put the row counter back to 0 and basically we will continue from row 0 with the same cable we've done before. But also, if we do not want to do that, we can always just write the number 24 down here in the same alignment with row 0. So we can write 24, 26, 28, 30 and so forth for however many repeats we want to do. This is another way to keep track of where we are in our chart. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you found this video useful. Please let me know what you think in the comments. If you have any suggestions for future content, please make sure to leave them in the comments also. And I will see you in my next video. Bye bye!